What's up, everybody? This is Matrym here, and we're going to be doing a quick video about map selection in professional Overwatch. For those of you that don't know, Blizzard has just announced the fact that they do not believe that map selection is a way that they want to go forward inside of professional Overwatch, and have come up with a standardized listing of maps, and that's going to be the way that it's going to be progressing forward from here. The first event that was affected by this was the Overwatch Winter Premiere, and MLG Vegas will also be affected as well. Now, this kind of came out of the blue. So one of the first points that I want to make on this is, regardless of whatever decisions that Blizzard's wanting to do, they shouldn't roll out changes as last minute as this. We found out about this 3 days before an event with a $100,000 prize pool, which is the Overwatch Winter Premiere. Teams had been playing in a certain style and been expecting a certain progression because that's the status quo inside of how professional Overwatch has been played so far. And we're told, nope, this is the way it's going forward, figure it out, and had roughly, 24 to 48 hours to adjust and fit into this situation. So, regardless, however you're wanting to go forward with this, Blizzard, I have to say that I have to wholly disagree with. Now, I'm going to try to go through this and go on both sides of it. To get started with, I believe in map selection in Overwatch is something that's just going to become a requirement the further that we go. There's no way around it. I can kind of see where Blizzard's coming from with this, because let's be real, Blizzard does have reasoning for doing this. They're just not like, oh well, we just know better than everybody else. That's not the case in this. I think that they have some complaints that they want to address. And like, if you remember back, the community really wanted stopwatch to be a built-in game mode of how you play Overwatch. And it personally, I didn't like stopwatch. I felt that it made too much of a race, and I wanted Overwatch to be a much more strategic style game, and I very much like the changes that they put in place here. I think that what we're dealing with is a separation between the game Overwatch and the esport Overwatch. So what I mean by that is you have these people that are playing ranked and everything, and they are having to play these maps, but then whenever you look on the pro level, nobody plays 2CP. It's just, no, nobody plays it. And there's reasons for that. And mainly it's very flip-floppy, and there's some issues with the way that the map is laid out. I don't enjoy watching it too often. Here or there, I think it's okay, but as somebody that is very tired of the standardized maps, I think that there needs to be some changes that happens out of 2CP before you can really just say, yep, this is the way that we're going to go forward with this. Because one, I think it comes out too long, and two, I just don't think it brings that much. It's not like, I think that Blizzard sees 2CP as the halfway ground between King of the Hill and payload maps. That's kind of mechanical, kind of strategic, and that's not really the case. It just tends to be, do you get the picks, who staggers spawns best, and that's what it comes down to. If you can have a team fight where you stagger spawns very effectively as an attacker, you win, and that's just the way it goes. Now, that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they're also getting hit with some what Blizzard is getting hit with some feedback, such as the fact that, oh well, yeah, like pros don't even play this. This shouldn't be in ranked, because if they put in a map selection tool, Blizzard has to firmly say, okay, we are aware that this is the way high caliber matches of Overwatch should be played, and I don't think that they're ready to make that step yet. And so by encouraging map selection, they're specifically stating, okay, we know some people don't like these maps, so we're just not going to force people to play them anymore. Because let's be real, if you put map selection inside of Overwatch, we will probably never see Temple of Anubis or Volskaya ever again in ranked. That's just the way it goes. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Yes and no. So let's get into some of the drawbacks. I think that specifically, strategic diversity becomes a big part of this. Whenever you're looking at professional Overwatch, there seems to be a lean that goes into this, where the more like if you're playing up against a team and you think that you're more mechanically gifted than they are, you want to lean towards more King of the Hill style maps. You just want to outshoot them, out aim them, and take them down. Whereas if you think that you're a little bit more strategic, if you have a little bit better synergy, if you think that you can really pull some effective plays out, you lean more towards the payload maps in these versus matches. And so I think that map selection allows teams that understand their weak points to try to overcome them. And a standardized map, whenever it's just you have to play this map and you have to play this map, especially when you're looking at best of ones, you don't get that. You have to just take what you're given. Now, keep in mind, map selection as it is right now is one person bans, another person bans, another person's banned. So you, technically, even with map selection, you don't get that same level of control that you can say, oh, we are definitely playing a King of the Hill match because of this. But you get a little bit more say-so in it. You force the other team to get rid of things that you don't want to have to deal with, or things that you can get rid of the things that you don't want to have to deal with, and you force the teams to get rid of the things they don't want to have to deal with, which might put it more in towards your wheelhouse. Secondarily, I think it gets rid of surprise pick maps. Like, take for example, there was a couple months ago whenever Hanamura was first picked. Everybody was just like, "Oh, 2CP is bad," oh, we're never going to see 2CP ever. And then Hanamura showed up, and I believe it was Reunited that was playing in it, and that's whenever they brought out the Mei for the first time, right after she'd been upgraded, and she had the big, huge Blizzard whenever she throws it out. And I like picks like that. Whenever you just come out, whenever a team comes out of the blue and they're like, "Hey, we specifically prepped for this, and we prepped for it in a very perfect way to just steamroll through the other team and surprise them." That style of play, I think, adds a lot inside of Overwatch. Now, there is also a couple of benefits to doing this. As somebody that casts a lot of semi-professional and like amateur play for Overwatch, I get a little tired of seeing Kings Row, 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 Kings Row. But the reason for that is the fact that most people feel the most comfortable on Kings Row. So forcing some diversity in here means the fact that we don't see the exact same map over and over and over again. Because let's be honest, if you're trying to build an esport, if you're going to have an 8-hour tournament and you have best of one groups to start with, and every one of the groups is Kings Row, there's about 4 hours where everybody watching is just watching Kings Row over and over and over again, and it becomes who can play Kings Row better. And that's not healthy for spectating. Like, at a certain point, people just get turned off. Doesn't matter how good the matches are, you just get tired of seeing the same thing. Because, I mean, and from a casting standpoint, what do you say? Oh, they're doing the exact same comp, because most of the meta is pretty stagnant right now, and the exact same map, so it's just a matter of these little bitty variations, and nobody wants to watch tiny variations for 4 hours. So I think that there is a little bit of benefit inside of that. Now, moving forward, I just don't see how map selection doesn't become a process that has to happen. Now, there is one other small piece of this, is that we've had Blizzard specifically talking about that they want to introduce new maps. They want to introduce new styles of maps. And the professional scene is very slow to adapt into new things. And that's for a reason. If I was going to say, hey, this game of Overwatch, I will give you $100 if you win it, I guarantee you, you're going to try to play the hero you know best well and the map you know best well. And that's what these players are doing. So newer maps don't see the light of day for a very long time. Like, when was the last time you saw professional Eichenwald? Unless it's forced, people just aren't going to play it. So that means all of these new maps and modes that Blizzard's trying to introduce are always going to get banned out. And in my opinion, that's kind of sad. I personally think that Overwatch is a lot more strategic of a shooter than people make it out to be. Everybody tries to make it this Twitch play, but you can actually see that we're starting to develop into certain styles, and as it progresses in esport, you're going to get a lot more in-depth strategy that's going to start appearing, and I'm really excited about that. And I think that newer map modes are going to be a big part of that. But if players are very used to playing Kings Row, that's what they're going to lean towards. It doesn't matter how good the new map is. It doesn't matter how strategic the new map is. It doesn't matter how much it changes the way you play Overwatch. Pros are going to lean towards, I know this, I can make money if I play here, versus I don't know that. So I think that there needs to be some happy balance between the two of them. I thought OGN, whenever they were doing their series, their tournament, I thought that was fairly effective. We got to see some variance, but there was still a little bit of, you still had to see some of the maps you didn't want to see, but there was still enough variance that it didn't really decimate how you played Overwatch, and a big part of that is the fact that the teams knew way in advance that this was going to how how it was going to play, so they had time to adapt in for it. But there's one big problem that I don't see going forward inside of this is that, like Blizzard, how they're going to solve for this is we were already seeing more maps come in. Blizzard, you guys are making more maps. As I said a second ago, you're talking about making more modes. How are we going to play Overwatch at a certain point if we do not have some type of map selection tool? There's just no way around it. Right now, we're just going to keep escalating. Once we get 15 maps inside of a pool, does that mean the fact that we're just not going to see repeated maps as we're going to progress through? Like whenever we start getting the best of 3 stages, the best of 5 stages, like you're eventually going to start seeing overlaps. So I kind of see what Blizzard's wanting to solve here, but I don't see how this solution right now is any form of a permanent solution going forward. It's going to be very, very static and not allow for, like, it's going to force players to play on things, one, that they don't want to play on, two, things that people don't want to watch, just to maintain a push for things that might be coming in the future. But that being said, whenever the future gets here, this system isn't going to work, because then there's going to be too many maps, and then teams won't be able to practice in any form and fashion to be effective. Because once you don't have effective practice, then you end up with very random results inside of these tournaments. And whenever we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars on the lines for these tournaments, you don't want random selection to be a big part of this. You don't want last minute rule changes to be a part of this. You want your teams to feel, you want them to have a level of stability, and you want them to feel comfortable in playing. Otherwise, you're just discouraging professional play. So Blizzard, I get where you're wanting to go with, and I understand that this might not be the solution for right now. So everybody in the community, if it's something you're against, if it's something you like, keep talking about it. But Blizzard, I just don't see how this is a long-term situation. And I'm not trying to address Blizzard specifically. This is more towards viewers and people that know me, and I'm hoping that maybe this can help get the word out so that people can understand what's going on and why this is such a hot-button topic. And please, feel free to comment, tweet at me with your opinions. I love having intellectual Overwatch discussion. And I'm Matrym. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys.